Now let's look at some facts about neutral spine. We're going to look at them for people with a pain-free back, and we're going to look at them for a painful back as well, because there are different rules for each of them. A lot of people get stuck in this idea that if someone says neutral spine, they're saying you need to walk around like a robot 24/7 for the rest of your life. That's not the case. That's a huge misunderstanding. I understand how the spine works. I've studied it for 17 years, so I have a decent understanding. What we need to understand is the context and the nuance of when it's being used and how it's being used. So, first of all, what is a neutral spine? A lot of people can't define what a neutral spine is. All they think it's, oh, I'm bolt upright and I can't move. That's a neutral spine. It's like, no. That's not a neutral spine. A neutral spine is what's known as elastic equilibrium, which is essentially the tissues all around it are sort of equal, if you will. There's equal stretch and tension within them. And so, as the example, when you flex, so when you bend over, the ligaments and the muscles at the back, they stretch to sort of allow the spine to move, and let's just say the muscles at the front and the ligaments at the front, the muscles will contract, and the ligament will sort of just fold, if you will, because it's not necessarily an active tissue. So that is where you would get a disequilibrium. So the muscles have greater stretch at the back and greater tension at the front, and then if you extend, the reverse happens. So there's your elastic disequilibrium. When you go into neutral, it's equal. Front, back, left, right, all the way around, 360 degrees, whatever. So that's essentially what a neutral spine is. Now, if we look at it from a pain-free back perspective, what we have here is we have a greater license to essentially do what we like with our spine. We can bend, we can twist, we can do whatever we want. What I would recommend, however, is when lifting extremely heavy weights, it's more advantageous to maintain a neutral spine. Now again, there are levels to this. So neutral spine, brace torso. That's going to be your most effective way of lifting a big heavy weight. If that's not possible, you would flex a little bit, because this is something people who do strongman events complain about all the time. Yeah, but you can't lift Atlas stones. If you flex the spine, brace the abdominals, lock it in position, again, that will go some way to distributing load around it, which is what I'm going to talk about in a second. The worst thing you can do is go through a flexion and extension cycle under huge load. That has been shown and will continue to be shown as a way of damaging the spine. UK Strength and Conditioning Association have highlighted that. Many other journals, professionals, whatever you want to call them, they've highlighted that. It's in textbooks. Go look it up. So what we need to be able to do is, again, understand that context. So when we've got a painful back, we've got more rules and more license to do what we like, but there are rules that are more advantageous to follow. You don't have to follow them. That's absolutely fine. There are mechanisms that do help the spine recover, but if you're training in a certain way that doesn't allow the spine to recover, then it's going to cause a problem. So when we talk about people with a painful spine, essentially there are more rules about what that person needs to do. And if we use the example first, so I'll sit with someone and I'll go through the questionnaire and they'll tell me, and this is just one aspect, there is more than this, but let's just go with this for now. They'll tell me that when they sit down, their back gets painful. So in my head, I'm thinking, right, most people sit slouched, and it comes on after 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Okay, so flexion is a problem for them. Okay, let's go into the assessment. Let's test it. So let's test the neutral spine and let's test the flex spine. So if we test the flex spine and it produces pain, and we test the neutral spine and it doesn't, again, that's me cross-referencing and going, well, they've said this. Okay, my working hypothesis, I think flexion's a problem. Okay, let's go and test it. It's shown to be a problem. Okay, we've got cross-reference, we've got information. There may be other information around it as well from other questions and other assessments which back it up as well. But essentially, we've got the questions, we've got the assessment, it's showing that flexion's a problem. We need to create an environment where they don't flex as much. And that's not to say they should never flex. It just means we want to try and manage how much they flex. And again, when they're lifting, there's going to be more rules when lifting and things like that. So we need to have that understanding that a painful back has different rules to a pain-free back. A painful back has more rules about what we can do. Now, with that said, if in the initial stages it's painful, that doesn't mean we need to stick to it forever. Because if we go through a process of managing the posture of the spine and then we retest in 3 months and all that's gone, okay, let's start slacking off on the rules and letting you do a little bit more with your spine and this, that and the other. And then we test again and we can take away some more of the rules, and then in another 3 months time it's like, okay, we're fine, go and use your spine. There is a caveat to that. The biggest marker of injury is previous injury. So if you've had a back problem in the past, you're more likely to have a back problem in the future. That is just one of the markers, again, that has been shown, that has been studied, that's been understood. Go and look it up if you need to. So it's very much having that understanding and not being rigid in your thinking in neutral spine is a bad thing, neutral spine is a good thing. Neutral spine is a thing that can be used advantageously and disadvantageously. We just need to understand the rules in which we need to be able to use it. So again, it's been misunderstood, but if you have any questions about it, when you should be using it, how you should be using it, how long you've been using it, do I need to change it, stick it down in the comment section below and I'll see what I can do to get that answered. Again, if you want to start working through this to understand this even more, hit the link in the description, go through the workshops and start learning a little bit more about what I'm talking about.